I think I even struggled with saying, okay, I know I do entertainment stuff. I know I do marketing and communication stuff. Does it make sense to make an agency where I can do all of that in one? And I struggled with that, but I said, no, Chrislyn, this is what I love and this is what I'm going to do. And it's going to be a marketing, communications, and entertainment agency. And what I've seen over the time is that people will come to me for services that sometimes include both. And the question is, where else can they go to get that? I mean.
Hey, and welcome back to Pathways, the podcast. I am very excited to be here and to see you here. And if you're an OG listener, then I know that I've been MIA for too long and I have some explaining to do. But stick around at the end of this episode and I will promise to try to explain myself. So if you're new to Pathways, then thanks for choosing to join in. I hope that you find something you need on today's episode or from others in the collection. I'm your host, Arlene Hayes, and this is usually the part where I would say, this is the podcast where we chat with West Indian professionals at home and in the diaspora who work in one or more of the STEAM fields. And even though that is mostly still going to be true, we're taking a half step back from the full STEAM focus. And let me explain why. So I think that it's become pretty apparent that the STEAM fields, so that's science, technology, engineering, architecture, and math, they don't operate in silos. It might even be a little damaging and against the ethos of what I've been trying to do with this podcast to suggest that. So even though it can be useful to categorize career types for those who might be interested in specific subject areas, the reality is that every career uses some aspect of STEAM, and more often than not, careers are a combination of many of them. So this season, and probably moving forward, we won't be focusing on the individual disciplines so much as just hearing from our Caribbean people who are making work for them. And by that, I mean that they're out here charting their own paths, figuring things out in a non-traditional or uncommon field or industry, which might just happen to relate to one or more of the STEAM fields. Or maybe they're combining a few things that work really well for them in a way that you wouldn't have considered before. So, if you're looking for some inspiration on where to take things in your career, or you just like hearing about what others are doing and how they've gotten to where they are, then stick around, stay a while, listen in on the conversation. And when you're done, leave a comment and let us know what you liked or what you want to hear more of. I really want to keep this energy flowing with teacher seasons, and it really helps to know if this is actually helping anyone out there. And the only way that I can know is if you tell me. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. On this episode, we will be talking with Chrislyn Lashington. Now, Chrislyn is a creative entrepreneur from Grenada in the Caribbean who has honed her many talents and skills within the sectors of entertainment, media, advertising, health, and wellness. She is a TV producer and host, dance fitness instructor, event producer, and the CEO of Lashington Agency, a marketing, communications, and entertainment agency based in Grenada. Chrislyn holds a Master's of Public Health from St. George's University, where she later worked as a bioethics clinical tutor for medical students and continues to support the graduate public health program. Her experience in public relations, marketing, and entertainment afforded success to entities like the Grenada Tourism Authority, Sandals Resorts, Flow, Power FM, the Grenada Broadcasting Network, HOMA, a property development company, and more recently, a UNESCO-funded intangible cultural heritage project. Chrislyn's lifelong passion for the creative and performing arts has led her to become a household name in Grenada for TV and radio hosting under the alias Missy Chrissy, dance fitness, and for the production of Upstage TV Show, an entertainment show birthed during the nationwide lockdown in 2020. Chrislyn has also produced the annual Carnival Sunday Fest Beach Bum and launched Jab in Shape, a dance fitness program inspired by Afro-Caribbean music and movements. In 2022, she further expanded the Upstage brand, presenting a carnival band that revitalized the traditional sailor masquerade for Spicemas. Chrislyn is currently a director on the board of the Grenadian National Museum. She's a floor member on the executive of the Traditional Individual and Mass Bands Association, or TIMBA, and she's a volunteer at the Grenada National Red Cross Society. Chrislyn loves the beach, and she believes that dessert is the best part of every meal. Now let's get into the conversation with Chrislyn Lashington. Hi, Chrislyn, and welcome to Pathways.
Hello. What's up?
Good, I'm good. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me and congratulations on the podcast. It's lovely that you're creating a space for people in the field.
Thanks, I try. I'm really excited to talk with you today. I must admit, I'm a little bit nervous because it's like, I feel like I'm interviewing the interviewer, you know?
Listen, there's no reason to be nervous. I tell people who do, because I do media interview training, nobody has any idea what you're about to say. So there's no need to be, nervous about that.
Yeah, true. Okay. All right, great. But like I always say, this is not meant to be an interview. This is a conversation, between two girls catching up. So let's jump into it that way. And I really want to discuss you, what you do, and share that with the people who are listening because they want to know. We're going to start off light, just, build up the background. So first of all, where did you grow up? Who is little Chrislyn?
Oh, little Chrislyn. Little Chrislyn, I'm from Grenada. I started in Birch Grove for a short while and then moved to Springs. So I spent most of my childhood in Springs. And of course, I still went back and forth from country to town because my family is largely from the country. So I had a little bit of both worlds, which is quite nice. There's a lot of playing happening. Where I grew up in Springs, we had a yard that was shared by a bunch of houses and every house had children. So it was quite a colorful childhood of playing cricket when it's cricket season and, all sorts of things. Yeah, we played, we had concerts, and also the school I went to was very much I'd like to call it almost a performing arts school. It wasn't dedicated that way, but the principal was very much passionate about it. And therefore, we focused a lot on academics, but we also focused a lot on performing arts. So that's kind of my childhood in a nutshell.
Okay, so it's starting to explain some things already. That leads well into this question. How do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up? Is there something that was, okay, tell us.
Yeah. From since I was 2 years old, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I had a pediatrician, of course, as a child, and he would always give me tips and tricks. I just wanted to do what he was doing, right? Mm-hmm. And it meant that my entire childhood and my entire schooling was literally focused on becoming a doctor. Mm-hmm. So even though I still kept doing my creative things, so I was, dancing and acting and playing music, I did that throughout my life. I was still very much focused on the sciences in secondary school, college, university. But what I did, and I'm thankful I did this as well, is I was good in a lot of things in secondary school. So I also had other subjects that I did for CXC, languages and, other things, English, BE, and, all those other things. So the focus was definitely pediatrician for me.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. And so after all that, what was your first real job, you would say, after school? Or maybe it was something you did, as you were a child.
Yeah. As a child, when I was in secondary school, I believe it was, I used to help my godmother with accounting. Okay. For a trucking company. So that was my little part, during the holiday time.
Yeah.
But I would say my first real job would be, this is tricky too, because I used to play pan when I was 17. So when I was in TAM CC, I was still going to school. I started playing pan at Calabash Hotel. So I was doing that and getting paid. I never considered that as a job before, but truthfully it is, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that has to be it.
Okay, I love that.
Okay. And then formal job.
Yeah, there's layers to it.
So many layers. Formal job coming out of university would be working at the Grenada Red Cross Society as a disaster preparedness officer as well as communications. Okay. You know, this is hard, Arlene, because coming to think of it, I was also working on TV doing Daybreak Grenada before that. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, this is perfect.
Whichever
This is
one you want.
Okay. Now, fast forward to where you are right now. Give me in 3 words. What is your current profession? No more than 3 words.
Ooh, current profession. 3 words, as in like
No more than
individual words?
no
or-
more than 3 words. Just short, brief. Because I know we can get into like a lot of things. So what is it that you do if you had to distill it?
If I had to distill it in 3 words, what I do,
It could be less than 3 words.
it could be what?
It could be
Less
one
than
word.
3 words?
Yeah. It could be a phrase. Let's say no more than 5.
5
Yeah.
helps. That helps.
Okay. I'll get to you. I can see you struggling.
I am struggling. I'm definitely struggling. I would say perhaps inspiring people towards greatness. Maybe that could be one.
I like that.
Yeah.
Inspiring people towards greatness.
Yeah.
That's your-
maybe. If
that's
I
what you
just,
do.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
sure when I go to bed and I wake up in the morning, I'm going to think of another phrase that might describe it better because you definitely put me on the spot.
I like to do that a little bit.
That's fine.
Okay. So I have a lot to work with now, and I'm even more curious than I was when we started. So from the outside looking in, and I've only had like brief touch points with you, throughout your career, I guess. But it appears that you've kind of like dipped in and out of corporate jobs and entrepreneurship. So I'm wondering, is that something that was it intentional? Did it just kind of happen? And has it been difficult to do like switching tracks like that?
Well, the truth is I only really switched once. And the switch has been from corporate job to completely entrepreneurial. You said the question was what? Has it been difficult switching?
Has it been difficult? Yeah, was the switch difficult for you in any way?
The switch was difficult at first because I think we are largely programmed that, from since we were children, we're programmed that you're going towards like working with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And I think the very first time I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to leave this job. It was a very hard decision because you're thinking about your income. Security is a big issue when you're stepping from, that paycheck is coming versus everything I do impacts the paycheck that I get, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the scariest feelings. And I'm so happy that I was able to set myself up to make sure I have some level of security in order to take that leap. And it takes time, it definitely takes time. I would say it took me a few years to be able to say, okay, great. I can stand firmly in being an entrepreneur. And now I'd like to call myself like a creative entrepreneur because I've found ways of using all the talents and skills that I have, which half of them are probably in the creative field, and apply it to not just what I do, but what I do for brands. So it may seem like I'm switching in and out, but the truth is I'm serving brands from my business. And I remember I was the corporate communications for the Grenada Tourism Authority a few years ago. And I remember sitting in the office thinking, I want to be able to work with different companies without having to go into different companies, right?
Yeah.
And because I wanted variety, I wanted to be able to learn more about various companies and various industries. My mind is just curious like that. And I thought to myself that one day I will create an agency that allows me to do exactly what I'm doing now for the GTA, but do it for other businesses. And a few years later, here I am doing exactly what that minute thought was sitting in that office years ago, just craving variety.
Yeah. Is that so? Like during that time in the office, is that kind of the first time that the idea of working on your own and creating your own agency came up?
For sure. I think it was the first time. Wow. And, you know, as was indicated, I guess, earlier by my many different things, is that I've always been doing things, right? So even if I have that main job at the GTA, I became a Zumba instructor in that time. And, you know, I'd still play pan ever so often. I still dance. We dance together, you know, so those are some of the things. It's always been a little bit of variety. I think it's a little hard for me to understand just doing simply one thing. I've never been that way. So some people are, and that's absolutely fine. But from since I was a child, I've always been doing multiple things.
I can relate for sure. So tell us a little bit about like what the process was for you starting out. So, and we can go back because you were on the path to medicine. So when did that switch happen that you decided not to pursue it? Because honestly, so I was prepping for this, and in the back of my head, I really thought that you like studied marketing or international business or something like that. And then like through doing some research and then your bio, I'm like, wait, you studied public health science?
Right.
Like, when and why? So say more. Like, yeah. What was the plan when you started the studies, and how did you end up with a marketing agency?
The short way of answering that is that I paid attention to myself. I paid attention to what I loved. I paid attention to what I was good at. And I also paid attention to what people were calling me for. So that, you know, like people were continuously calling me to do various communication and marketing things, right? And I just kind of played on that. I continued that. And the truth is the transition was very gradual, because if you pay attention to the first job I had with the Red Cross, funny, I still serve the Red Cross to this day. So it's been, you know, since then, since 2012. The first job with the Red Cross married my public health and science skills with my communication and marketing skills.
Right.
And then slowly the public health
Fleshing up.
right?
It ran its course.
Yeah, just like slowly. But you know what's funny, Arlene, is that the reason why I wanted to be a doctor initially was in order to be able to assist people in being healthy. Mm-hmm. And if I go back to the core of that, I'm still doing that as a dance fitness instructor. And I still do other things in the field of public health that's able to impact loads of people at one time. So the truth is I haven't steered away from the core of why I wanted to do that. It's just that the way I'm doing it has changed.
Mm. And was that, I know it's always easier to like see things in hindsight and like connect the dots. Mm-hmm. Was any of that intentional though, or it's only as you look back now you're like, oh, you know, it all worked out?
Was what intentional?
The keeping bits and pieces of the things that you enjoyed and that you always passionate about.
I think I'm not sure if it's intentional. Maybe now I'm making sure it's intentional because I realize it's just simply part of my calling, my purpose, my destiny, mm-hmm. and I can't ignore that. And why it perhaps happened is because I was at least always able to stay true to that, you know? Thankfully, I grew up with parents and in an environment that absolutely supported what I do, as compared to saying, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a doctor. You know, like the minute I say, listen, I don't think this is what it is anymore, it's like, all right, my girl, let's keep it pushing, right?
Yeah.
You know, so thankfully, I have that environment. And I think that helps a lot in terms of being able to really hone in, tap into yourself, and recognize the direction you're supposed to go in.
I imagine that your career has been a bit of trial and error, or a lot of trial and error. I don't know, because I don't know. Have there been other people that you have been able to see who were, you were able to kind of like forge your path along theirs, or was it all just making it up as you go along?
No, I think that is a challenge, especially in a country as small as Grenada, where it's sometimes difficult to see examples of what you can replicate and improve on, right? And sometimes that is hard when you're forging your own path, right? Because you really just have to make it up and create as you go along. So I would say that was definitely something that was difficult. And I think I myself also struggled with the fact that I do so many things, and how do I create that business that also serves those many things? Because, largely we think, okay, if it's marketing, it just has to be marketing. And I remember one time there was this workshop I went to, and somebody said, oh, it needs to be marketing in a specific niche only. Like, you need to focus on a niche. And I'm just like, no,
I'm the niche.
I love it. Because that in itself is, if you let's think about it, right? If I say my niche is, I don't know what it is, laboratories, that's my niche for marketing. How many labs are there in Grenada? How many, lab technicians will need my service? Kind of slim. One if you're lucky. Right.
Maybe two. Yeah.
Right. And then also my curious mind is that I want to be able to learn about tourism. I want to be able to learn about telecoms. I want to be able to learn about, culture, and apply my skills to all those various industries and impact community in that way. Right. So I think I even struggled with saying, okay, I know I do entertainment stuff. I know I do marketing and communication stuff. Does it make sense to make an agency where I can do all of that in one? And I struggled with that, but I said, no, Chrislyn, this is what I love, and this is what I'm going to do. And it's going to be a marketing, communications, and entertainment agency. And what I've seen over the time is that people will come to me for services that sometimes include both. And the question is, where else can they go to get that? Where else can they go to get somebody who understands entertainment and understands, the performing arts and what it takes to do that, but then also understands, promoting the event, making the event happen, the marketing that needs to go out to make something happen, the communications behind the scene and internal communications for the organization. I mean, so many pieces. So I think I'm happy that I stayed on course and created this nuanced agency. And I must say that thankfully I can sit here and say that it's working out great.
I love that for you. Yes. So, like you mentioned, again, there are lots of different parts and pieces, things that you started. And I don't know if this is the case. Was there anything that you've kind of dropped off over the years, or have you just kind of snowballed into this one big thing?
I'm sure there might be things I've dropped off, or maybe evolved in terms of what I offer.
Okay.
I think those things may be more so the type of businesses that I serve, as compared to the services that I offer. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that really amazes me about you is how well you're able to weave all your different projects and passions together. So I've seen you go from, emceeing an event, and then midway you start to talk about folk songs and your ballet classes, and then you seamlessly just drop a plug for Zumba or Upstage or some campaign that you're working on. It's always, a hallelujah. It's kind of impressive. Right. But I guess it makes sense because marketing is what you do. So you can market yourself like no other. But was any of that taught to you, or is it something that you picked up along the way, trial and error, or like where does that come from? Is that just natural?
You mean the ability to do many things?
The ability to sell yourself in that way and to create those connections between the many things that you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to even answer that, but I'm assuming that because I was always doing those, like always doing many things, that my brain is accustomed to being able to look at many things, but also find connections between them, right?
Right.
So perhaps that's it. And I'd assume as well that it's a bit of practice makes perfect along the way. I think the more that you do something, the more you get better at it. And I have been hosting for a number of years. I've been on stage since I was a child. I've been in so many different groups and, organizations that perhaps it's just doing that in my brain, and that's what's coming out. Perhaps.
And with any of that, because you sound very content, very passionate, like solid in what you're doing. Was there any point where that wasn't the case, where you kind of felt like maybe I made a mistake, or, maybe I should change tracks?
Yeah, I am very content. Thank you for noticing. I really can't complain, and it's not about financial gains, because there's definitely times where the finances were just, it's not there, right?
Yeah.
It's more so about being content is more so about absolutely enjoying every single thing that I do, and also having the freedom to choose what I do. That is priceless, right? Now, you asked if there was a time I thought, tell me again.
A time that you considered, quitting or completely changing tracks, or you kind of regretted your decisions up to this point?
The good thing is I don't have any regrets in life. Was there a time I felt, do I need to get a job?
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. Because, you want to be able to live. You want to be able to aspire to certain things in life, right? You want to build a house. You want to travel. You want to,
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I've definitely had those moments. And I'm not sure how long those moments lasted. I'm not sure how long they lasted.
As in, you think it was like just a thought, or it might have been much longer?
I think being able to refocus in those low times is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So, you realize there's a challenge, but then again, my fantastic brain that I'm so grateful for is a problem solver. So I'm always in, let's find a solution. So if this is a dull period, how can I pivot from here? What can I do to ensure that people are able to come to me for services, or they know that it's happening so that they can use it? And one thing I would say that I've done always is create it myself so that people see it and then they know that I could do it. So I never sat down and said, I can produce a TV show. I can produce a TV show. Pick me, pick me, pick me. I just simply produced a TV show, ensure that people saw it. And if they needed that service, they can come to me for it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then they're able to see, like, you're selling your skill sets, And I think so many people sometimes sit back and think people are just supposed to know that I offer this. You have to be able to sell yourself. You have to be able to be confident in what you do and find a way to put it on the world stage. And then the people will come.
This wasn't a fan question, but as you mentioned about like on the world stage, kind of progressing from, having to develop yourself as an entity here in Grenada, you've also been able to go on to do things regionally and I think internationally to some level. What was that like? And how did
I think
you
one of the most validating moments for me as a TV host was when I applied to do the American Black Film Festival. Every year they host some sort of training. And that specific year, I believe it was 2018, they hosted a training for TV hosts. And I applied, and out of 300, I think it was like 300 applications across the entire United States, I was in that group. I think it wasn't more than 20 of us or so from across the United States. And part of the application was recording yourself hosting or saying something to camera. I think there were 2 pieces I had to submit. Mm-hmm. And even just doing that, I was like, I'm scared because I think I left it to like the deadline, like minutes before 12, right? So I wasn't feeling very confident because I thought, it's the world is applying. There's so many fantastic people here. Mm-hmm. And when I got that email, I was ecstatic and I made sure I was able to go. And it was a fantastic experience. But what it also told me is, this is not no little thing you're doing. You are very much skilled in this field and you are fantastic at it. So I think that was definitely one of those moments for me. And that was in California back in 2018. And it was by the lady who trained us. I mean, she's worked with Brad Pitt and loads of other people, so it really was amazing.
And I'm guessing like that allowed you to network and meet like a bunch of people.
Of course. I am still in contact with a few people from that program. Mm. And I mean, being in Grenada had a slight disadvantage, right? Because, I mean, some of them now one is actually Cammie Crawford. She hosts a show on MTV right now. I think one of those catfish, I think she hosts one of those catfish programs. She was part of that program. She was part of that workshop. Oh. There's one guy, he's now anchoring on the news in DC. And another one does movie stuff. Like, it's just crazy, right? The type of opportunities that kind of spiraled. But yes, networking for sure. And also being able to just upskill, because I am always focused on how can I be better? How can I improve? And that's something that I would always advise people to do.
Great. Now, so you mentioned, I guess that would have been a bit of an investment for you to go to that event to upskill yourself. And I'm sure that you've done a number of other things over the years. Is there anything that you've changed or done in the past, let's say 6 months to a year, that you feel like has made a huge difference in your life? That could be something that you bought, could be a habit that you picked up or dropped, a new project that you pursued, anything.
I think what I can think of is perhaps attitude, as in I care less. I care less. I simply care less. I care less what people have to say. And that makes a difference. I'm also a bit less tolerant of BS. I realize that, I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's just, I've been through so many experiences that just rocked my world and I just don't have time for it. So I think, I care less and I'm a little less tolerant.
That will definitely change your life.
Yeah, man.
Okay. And what do you think the next 5 years has in store for your career? Like whether it's, something you're actively pursuing that you think will come to fruition, or, what do you hope for? What do you think your trajectory is going to take you to?
I think I'll stay on the same trajectory that I'm on, which is building on the work that I've done before. Every year, I am aspiring to working with bigger agencies, bigger clients, bigger events. And I see that continuing. I'd also like to expand the agency in terms of its impact and the people that it works with. Create a few more of products of the agency. Like, for instance, one thing I'm working on is a media training workshop and some other products that can go along with that.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. That's definitely one of the big things that I'm working on. And, because with my agency, I also manage some of my own brands like Beach Bum and Jab and Shape and Upstage. There are aspects of those brands that I will be trying to amplify over the next 5 years. So that's kind of an overview without revealing, because it's not at a stage of revealing. But the truth is, it's just building on the work I've done before and continually aspire for greatness and being better than I was before.
Amen to that. Yeah. All right. So that's big picture, next 5 years. Tell us what you're working on now. What can people expect from Chrislyn in 2024?
Ooh, what I'm working on now? Well, as I mentioned just a while ago, is that I'm always focused on upskilling. So even though my academics was largely science and public health, I still eventually studied marketing and other things, right? So I'm always, every year, I'm doing some online course or I'm going somewhere to a workshop. So that's one of the things. And right now is carnival time, and Beach Bum is an event that I do on Carnival Sunday. This is going to be the 50th year that it's hosted on Carnival Sunday. We started back in 2018. Before that, it used to be my birthday party. And so I'm excited that, it's survived. Usually they say 3 years in business, and then you can kind of see where you're going. So it's definitely doing well. And I'm excited to host Beach Bum again this year on Carnival Sunday. I also have a carnival band. It is a carnival band focused on traditional sailor mass and more so just blending some of our intangible cultural heritage elements into masquerade and largely exposing people to that, especially children, because I think that's a good way of ensuring that our culture lives on. So that's two of those things. As mentioned earlier, I am working on a media interview training workshop that should be hosted before the end of the year in 2024. And the various products that will come off of that. And I'm just looking forward to continuously serving my clients, because that, it takes time and effort and resources. So I want to be able to ensure that everything that we're doing for them is of a certain standard, put certain procedures in place, because the truth is, once agencies start growing and the more portfolio you add, certain things could get, fallen by the wayside. And I really want to ensure that we grow in a sustainable fashion. So I'm putting a lot of effort into that. And outside of that, there is Jab and Shape, which is a dance fitness program that is based on our Afro-Caribbean music and movement. And I have created a 30-minute dance fitness workout. It's soca, it's Grenadian soca, and that is actually now available on the website for purchase. I'm looking forward to doing more of that and doing more of the ballet dance that's part of that brand as well. And I'm happy to report that this year, something that came out of the independence is that a photo of me dancing ballet is actually going to be on the $50 commemorative note that is being printed, and it should be released very soon. So I'm on there. Kirani is also on there, Kirani James, and it's just an absolute honor to be the representation of culture in that space, and for something that I've just been doing. It's one of those moments where you just do what you love, and I think the rewards would come.
I saw that.
Extra rewards.
Like, yeah. I saw the bit of it.
For the rewards.
That looks like Chrislyn.
I know.
And then it's only after, I saw some other pictures. I'm like,
Okay, that makes sense. That's so. Yeah, so those are some of the things. Yeah, that's some of the things in 2024. But always looking forward to improving what I do and looking forward to collaborating with people who fit the mission, right?
And so under the agency right now, like what are the different services that you offer?
So largely, like if you just put them under an umbrella, it's like marketing and communications and then entertainment. So with marketing, it will be creating videos, creating radio ads, scripting videos, scripting radio ads, placing those ads on radio, TV, social media management, a range of that, as well as guiding, whether it's like your PR efforts, doing PR as well. So it's a little bit of that email marketing. That's kind of where it ranges from. And then under the entertainment side, it's more of booking. So like booking talent.
Okay.
Also event management. And that's something I realized that more people have been asking for. So I do serve corporate clients with event management. So for instance, Pan 50 and Food Fest, that big event that took place on the Carnage for the independence celebrations, I literally did that event for the government. And that was such an honor because as a Pan player and I'm able to have skills, which is literally the theme of my life, right? Marrying the science skills and the creative skills. So I've noticed there's been a few more of those requests, and I do offer it for corporate clients.
Okay. Because now I'm just curious, as I'm hearing you again, seeing all the different things that you do. Do you, and if you do, how prioritize rest and recovery in your career?
Easy.
How?
I don't play. Everybody knows this. Don't wake me up. Do not wake me up unless you know I'm supposed to be up for something, right? And in that case, I have my alarm already set.
Yeah.
But for me, rest and recovery is so important. Self-care is absolutely important, and I never compromise on that. I need my sleep. I need my 8 hours. And on Saturdays, I might be in there till 12. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And then don't wake you up tomorrow.
But it's so important. I go to the beach very often. So I try to get to the beach at least once a week. And, I have whether it's like my massages and my facials and, all those things are so important to what I do. I must say, though, that during carnival time, there is about a 2 to 3 week period where sleep is definitely compromised on. And I have no problem, and it's a choice. I literally have no problem going hard during that season because a lot of the things I do climaxes in that season and then resting afterward, right? So whether it means after carnival, I'm off for a few weeks or I would take like a few days break. But during carnival time, I definitely get less sleep and I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Give and take. Give and take.
Exactly.
I love that. You're like, I don't play.
No, I don't play. Don't mess with my sleep, y'all. Don't mess with it. It's so important because then you are rested. You're in a place where your brain, is able to operate at its optimal. And that's why I think too, health is so important, right? What you eat, being able to incorporate movement into your life, whether it is hardcore exercise, walking, swimming, whatever it is has to be incorporated. And all those things help you to be at your best in your career. And I'm never compromising on those things. Good for you. Yeah. And a little fun, you have to sprinkle in. Yeah, sprinkle in a little fun, a little like family time and friend time, girlfriend time, whatever it is, it's so important.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So to put a little bow on this whole conversation, which has been really lovely, if you could go back in time, get a little time machine and go back to 15-year-old Chrissy, what would you tell her? That's roughly 15. It could be, anywhere in that
Yeah.
age range?
I would say to be fearless. Yeah. Be fearless, because as much as it seems like I've done so many things, there's still so many that I have not done because I'm scared to. And what I would say is be a bit more bold, be a bit more fearless, and just get it done.
So if people listening want to reach you, whether they want to find out more about everything we talked about or to hire you for one of your services, what is a good way that they can do that?
They can definitely do that by checking the website. It's www.lashington.agency. We're also on social media, so Instagram and Facebook, lashington.agency. And if you just want to follow me and all my craziness, you can check out my Instagram. It's msy.chrissy, so missy.chrissy on Instagram.
All right. Chrislyn, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And I'm sure that the people listening or watching have gotten a lot of the gems that you've been dropping.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out for me to have this conversation with you. And I'm looking forward to the continued success of your podcast and everything else that you aspire to do.
Oh, thank you so much. And to the listeners, thank you for joining us on today's Pathway. Okay, so if you're still here, I'm guessing you want an explanation on where I've been for the past 2 years and why there haven't been any new episodes. So here it goes. Honestly, coming to the end of season 4, I was just really burnt out. I think the whole Grenadian team was burnt out. And the plan was to take a break, maybe 3 to 4 months, and then get back into the swing of things. Well, those 3 months turned into 6, and then into a year, and well, now we're here. So honestly, it truly wasn't intentional, but I do think it was necessary. Personally, I was have been putting a focus on some other things like my job and career. I've invested a bunch in myself too, which you might hear about in future. And I actually thought a lot about what I wanted to do with Pathways when it finally did feel right to come back on stream. So you might have noticed that I didn't say anything in the beginning about Pathways by Grenadian Steam. And you might also see that the Gren Steam logo is missing if you're watching this on YouTube. So last year, I actually talked with the Gren Steam board, and ultimately we decided to make Pathways its own entity. So now, instead of being a program or a project under that nonprofit, it is officially registered as its own business. A big reason for that move, and also for why it was burning the team out, honestly, is that podcasts take real effort to be brought to life. I started this 4 years ago, recording and editing every episode by myself, and then eventually having our marketing director create the visuals for the episodes and thumbnails, all as basically free voluntary labor. But these days I outsource the editing and the graphics, and I really want to be able to pay these people what they're worth because it's a lot of work. So it just made sense to run the podcast as a business and at least have it pay for itself, hopefully. And then eventually a portion of the profits, any profits that it makes, can filter right back into Gren Steam or to other great nonprofits or projects that are out there doing the work. So again, please be sure to comment or share with me what your takeaways from these episodes are, because I'd really like to know, even if it's worth keeping all of this up. Because like I said, I won't know if you don't speak up. And at the end of the day, if this just helps one person, that's worth it to me. So let me know. And with that, Pathways, the podcast, is now open to partnering, sponsorships, collaborations for future seasons. So if you know of any opportunities for that type of relationship for an educational or professional content like this, or if you are interested in working with Pathways, then reach out through social media DMs or send an email to pathways@grensteam.org. That's pathways@grensteam.org. And there you have it, where I've been, where I see Pathways going in the midterm, and how you can help it to move forward with either your words or your dollars. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you on the next episode of Pathways.